A Richmond cowboy is alleging police misconduct when officers responding to a high-speed chase turned their attention to a bystander filming the police response. Ground 4's Dan Kerman reports.
I don't think they should have their jobs.
This Richmond cowboy is calling for the firing of 2 Richmond police officers who he says attacked him and violated his civil rights while he videotaped them responding to an incident. This is surveillance video of that May 5th incident near Joe's Market on McDonald. Quasi Gus says the incident was almost over and he was in no one's way when officers turned their attention to him.
Get out of the way! What was that? Get out of the way! You're better. Back up! Better get your back up now! You better get your hands off me.
Elbowed me, told me to get out the way. And then came back and, just started pushing me. Other officer came, tripped me, put me on my face, roughed me up real bad.
Gus was arrested for resisting arrest and interfering with a police officer.
It certainly suggests to me that this is either an out-of-control officer or there's a pattern and practice that exists that is allowable within a department.
But Gus's attorney, John Burris, says that was just an excuse for police to attack his client and violate his civil rights.
It goes to the basic respect that a person has a right to have as a citizen and should be free from police abuse and ought to be able to exercise their constitutional rights without fear that they're going to be subjected to bullying type activities and essentially arrested and taken to jail for something that they didn't do that was unlawful, but because they stood up for their rights or exercising their rights.
At a news conference Wednesday, Burris announced he's filed a claim against the city of Richmond for the actions of Police Sergeant Alexander Kane and Officer Nicholas Remick. This is the first step before filing a federal civil rights lawsuit.
This is the kind of conduct that I am very much offended by.
As for Gus, who is both a cowboy and a horse trainer, he thinks those 2 officers should no longer be on the job.
I don't want this type of stuff to happen no more. It's because it happened to me. It happens to, countless young black men. And then how many people did Remick do this to, too, also, that nobody knows about?
Dan Kerman.
What are your injuries? What hurts?
Leg, arm, and my lungs.
Your lungs. Why do your lungs hurt?
Just being slammed.
Just being slammed?
I think so.
Did you hurt yourself when you crashed your truck into the woods?
Jade, Sheriff Keith Pearson says it wasn't a complaint, but rather an internal review that kick-started this investigation after the arrest was made about 2 months ago. Now, before we show you the video, I want to warn you, it may be hard to watch. Take a look at this video from the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office body cam showing Deputy Randy Walker arresting a man back on April 2nd. Sheriff Pearson says the video shows Deputy Walker using excessive force, and that is when the Criminal Investigations Division took over the review. Deputy Walker now faces 2 charges, 1 count of false statement and 1 count of misdemeanor battery.
So the deputies that were present that day, along with the supervisors who reviewed the body-worn camera, deemed that the actions that day of Deputy Walker were not that of the expectations of a member of the sheriff's
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report. It's 7:30 a.m., bright and early right here at home on the range. And you know what? All the cops that are watching this right now, well, I believe they're judging that fella on his technique, and they're probably on Amazon right now looking up steel-toed boots. You know they are. They all do it. All right, folks, did you know that I'm going to have to make a backup Bad Apple report for you guys tomorrow just because I want to bring you this story about these cops. There's calls for their suspension after they, beat this teenager up and tased him. And since there's all this motion, the YouTube censors, I'm certainly going to get the little red exclamation point, which means I've got to make a separate Bad Apple report that's milder. But we have to show you this excessive force, so avert your eyes if you can't handle the truth. Alrighty, let me know in the comments below, folks. Do these cops need some de-escalation training or what? Oh, lordy. Do you think they're going to use this moment to redeem themselves, folks? Okay, on to the next piece. That will also cause me to have a backup show. So hey, like I say, in for a penny, in for a pound, right? Okay, so what would you pair excessive force with if you wanted the perfect blend of tyranny? I don't mean you, because you folks, of course, you're not tyrants. But I know there's a few cops watching them. They're like, I know, unwarranted Detention? Yes. How about, come on. Malicious yes, malicious. Come on. What else would you want? Perfect blend. Come on now. What else do you need? You need to make sure the person feels like they're never going to get out, that they're going to be locked up forever.
Justified is probably the only word that comes to mind. It's just, I'm glad I didn't give up. I'm glad she didn't give up. Because there were times when both of us wanted to give up.
Tonight, a woman who was shot at by Sacramento County Sheriff's deputies has been found not guilty of assaulting a police officer. Good evening, I'm Laura Painter.
And I'm Chris Thomas. It all happened more than 6 months ago in Rancho Cordova. Take a look at the body cam video. Sacramento County deputies accused the woman of driving towards an officer. They say she used the car as a weapon, and that led to officers opening fire. But this week, she was found not guilty. ABC 10's Garjpal Sangha is live in the studio tonight after speaking to the family.
Yeah, Chris, she was able to go back home this week after being in the jail since late last year, and her defense team was able to win this case, even as they felt it would have been a lot easier if the court would have allowed them to use all of the evidence. For the last 6 months, it has been an uphill battle for Cariana Lyles and her mother, Jamie Kristen.
There's been a lot lost. We've both lost a lot.
Sheriff's Office.
This all started on November 20th. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office say they responded to a call of a woman breaking into a Rancho Cordova home on Algibi Way with a knife. When deputies arrived, they determined everyone in the home was safe and then found Lyles inside of a car parked in her driveway near along Malaga Way. The Sheriff's Office says when deputies asked her to get out of the car, Lyles drove away. Deputies say it was towards them, prompting them to open fire, shooting towards the car around 7 times and injuring her.
She wanted protection because a neighbor had threatened to kill her dog. She called the police. She asked for a standby, and they didn't come to stand by.
She was arrested and eventually held to stand on trial on a single charge of assault on a peace officer. During trial, Lyle's lawyer argued that she wasn't trying to run over the deputy and did not see them as she tried to escape the scene.
The evidence clearly showed that my daughter was innocent.
A jury in a Sacramento courtroom agreed Lyles was not trying to injure a deputy and acquitted her of the single charge.
They're super happy that my daughter is out. She didn't deserve to be in there.
The deputies on the stand at her trial have admitted that she committed no crime at her neighbor's house.
Public Defender Carrie Claremont says she had to convince the jury Lyles was not guilty because the court would not let the jurors see the footage of the incident past the point where the deputies opened fire.
The court ruled that anything having to do with the officers shooting at Miss Lyles was irrelevant and therefore excluded. And I was frustrated too because if the jury had seen the whole video, they would have seen the fact that she straightened out her car and didn't continue to run her car at the deputy.
But Claremont overcame the challenge by piecing the deputy's body cameras together to show what Lyles intended to do.
I know that these two men are still working as deputy sheriffs, and it's hard for me to see that when I know that they've shot at a woman fleeing into a residential neighborhood in midday on a holiday week, putting countless residents at risk.
And Lyles was not available to speak to me tonight as the family says she is resting and recovering after being jailed for more than 6 months and focusing on her mental health.
And Garjpal, have we heard it all from the Sheriff's Office?
Yeah, we did hear from the Sheriff's Office this evening. The Sheriff's Office says they cannot comment because there is a pending civil case. The Sacramento County District Attorney's Office said the same thing and that they're continuing to investigate this officer-involved shooting. Now, on that civil case front, the family is suing the county, the Sheriff's Office, Rancho Cordova Police, and the deputies involved for what they say false detention and excessive force, as Lyles was having a mental health crisis. So this case is in federal court. The next appearance is going to be in July.
Wow, certainly a lot of moving parts. Excellent reporting, Garjpal. We know you'll continue to follow that and keep us updated. Thank you.
Okay, you guys, I think we're going to wrap up the Bad Apple Report with this Constitution trampling judge here. Oh, he backtracked, though. He was the one that was trying to force that young man to apologize to the goofball cop that wanted to intimidate him standing there on the side of the road in front of his car. That's right. This judge got to eat some humble pie after all.
Even though he's no longer facing jail time for refusing to apologize to an Ozark police officer.
WDHN was first to report that the charges were dropped against him, but that's not the end of the story. He says he still wants justice and he's getting help, more legal help. WDHN's Christian Jones is in Ozark with the details. Christian?
A Dale County man is no longer facing jail time after refusing to apologize to an Ozark police officer, but he says this fight is far from over. Skipperville native Reginald Burke says that he should have never been put in the position.
I feel like they embarrassed the heck out of me, man. I had to go through all this, and it should have never happened in the first place.
Back in December, Burks was pulled over for speeding in a 25-mile-per-hour speed zone while taking his daughter to school. According to Burks, the officer did not use a radar gun to measure his speed. Shortly after, Burks said the officer would not move from in front of his car, leading to the two having a few choice words.
I told him actually one time to move nicely. So I'm like, hey, sir, can you get the hell out the way? Get your out the way, because we can go.
When going to pay his ticket, the Dale County man found out that he was being forced to apologize to the officer.
I said, what? You're not apologizing. I said, I just paid the ticket and gone about my business. He said, nah, the judge don't have to speak to you. He want to speak to you.
According to Burks' attorney, David Harrison, Judge Nicholas Bull held the lawyer's client in the courtroom for over 2 hours until Burks apologized. Bull later gave Burks the decision to apologize to the Ozark officer by June 4th or spend 30 days in jail. Harrison says that in over 30 years of work, he has never experienced anything like this and says his client did nothing wrong.
And actually, you can really say anything you want to as a police officer as long as it's not fighting or inciting, violence. And that's not the case here. This man clearly said something that you hear every day. So,
after months of not budging, the Dale County Court ultimately decided to not punish Burks for refusing to apologize. While he is no longer facing jail time, Burks and Harrison are continuing to fight this case. According to Harrison, the two are fighting to gain pain and suffering compensation as well as compensation for lost wages. The lawyer says they are receiving help from the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit organization aimed to fight for civil rights cases.
they've reached out to us and they're looking at, we're consulting with them and making a decision on exactly what to bring. Because a lot of times when you have situations with government officials, they have immunity, and it's hard to attack that immunity. Well, this organization here, that's their expertise, and they're looking at ways that we can make the situation right for Mr. Burks.
Burks says that he feels that his charges were only dropped due to media backlash and to prevent Harrison and Burks from further fighting the case. Now, I have reached out to Judge Nicholas Bull for a comment, but have not received one at this time. We will bring you any and all updates online and on air. In Ozark, Christian Jones, WDHN News.
Well, that was a good report. I like to hear that. That judge got shamed into doing the right thing. Well, we got a picture of him. Maybe we'll put him on the cover of the Bad Apple Report. All right, you guys are awesome. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. right here at Home on the Range.